Hi everyone again, and welcome to the latest edition of Startup Grind's Founder Series, where we educate our community on highly relevant early stage topics through interviews with founders of our top startup members. Today's goal is to dig into how Grace has navigated her career from university through to where she is currently with Outmind, having just raised a €500,000 pre-seed round to continue the evolution of their technology, to expand their team and commercial operations as well. Through the story, we aim to educate anyone in our community with an idea or early concept, or someone who wants to have an idea, on the maze of decision-making, from knowing when to take the leap, to building a prototype, to raising capital, hiring, and much more. I'll start with some quick introductions. Once again, I'm Alex Gordon-Furse, VP of Sales and Startups here at Startup Grind, which is the world's largest startup community, educating, inspiring, and connecting pre-seed, seed, and Series A startups across 120 countries. My guest today is Grace Mehrabe, co-founder and CEO at Outmind. Grace, you're based in Paris, right? You're in Station F right now.
Yeah, you're connected. How is what?
How are things in Paris at the moment?
It's quite, it's not a full lockdown as we can see in a few countries, but it's still quite restrictive. So we need to wear masks since we are at work with a few other people here. I'm in a room alone, so I hope I won't be disturbed, but otherwise we keep the mask every time. And the most than we are supposed to work at home. So lately we are more at the office because we had a lot of onboardings who wanted to have the team gathered and share a few of the culture, but yeah, actually we like to see each other. But since a few months, maybe since October, November, you know this is the second wave, so we still are quite cautious with that, and we don't really do face-to-face meetings with customers. Maybe we did 2 of them in 3 months, so we're quite happy with that. But yeah, it's
amazing. Okay. It seems like it's slightly less boring than it has been in the UK. I think we've been locked down for 3 of the last 4 months or so. So I'm glad you're able to get into the office.
Yeah, but we have a curfew which is starting at 6 p.m. So yeah.
Okay. You're enforced to leave the office and get back home.
Yeah. Normally without the attestations and stuff, that's the way to go.
Well, let's start off just by learning a bit about what Outmind does today, and then we can sort of start with that and then jump back to the beginning to map our way back to here. So do you want to give a quick description of what Outmind is?
Of course. So Outmind has now almost 2 years. We started 1.5 years ago approximately with my co-founder Arthur at the incubator of École Polytechnique. Outmind basically offers a single interface to search for internal data very easily, and you can find the what and the who very simply. The idea is to just have a single search bar. You can go through to find your files, your emails, some CRM informations, some chat informations, things that are scattered and lost all the time. You don't have all the time this knowledge management base, which is actually used, viewed, and updated. So the idea is to really bring this knowledge the best way that we can, just using the tools already in place, and not forcing the user just to create a new place to share information and knowledge. So that's what we do. We help to search, to find and to classify information which is scattered among different users' tools. Today we have more than 10 different connectors for the key market tools such as Office 365, Google Drive, Dropbox and Box, Salesforce, Trello, and so on. So we add like every month new services for our customers. And yeah, we have now a team which is getting strong and stronger every month. We are 12 people today, and the core team is now the dev team, the tech part of the team, because we have data, software, and DevOps engineers on this part, and we are 4 people on the business product part, with a new person on the marketing who will come this month.
Awesome! I'm absolutely fascinated by modern. I guess the contemporary kind of knowledge management space. So I'm really looking forward to kind of diving into that.
Yeah, I saw
First off,
you were quite a fan of Notion through Twitter.
yeah. Anything in that space I absolutely love. So future of work is fascinating. So we'll come. So what I'll do is I'll go back to the university time, and then we'll come back to current day. I'm looking forward to that. So just to kind of start off, what is your background? So what were you actually studying at university back in, I think it was 2013, 2014, was it?
Yeah, actually, I'm 26 now. I've been studying strategy and management, basically. First at university and then at a business school at ESCP Europe. And after that, I've been doing a short coding bootcamp. So it was a 3-month coding bootcamp that actually helped me to understand the logic behind the code, not making me actually a developer, but at least I can understand what our developers are working on, give some ideas, and not being lost in front of all that. And it's very interesting as well, just to understand what's possible or not, and what are the stakes when you ask for changing something in a software. And so I've been doing this, and actually when I was at the license year, so it's the 3rd year after the I don't know how we say in English. In French, it's the baccalaureat. 3 years after that, so I was 19, and I actually shifted my studies online just to be able to start a first company. Prior to that, I've been doing a few internships in hiring, in sales, and I actually joined a guy that was starting Lemon Learning. So it was a company focused on how we help customers, big companies, mainly key account, SPF 120, to train their users to use their own softwares, because we were seeing there were more and more new tools added, and that the employees were actually struggling. So what we did was just to create this kind of simple guides on top of the software, so that the user could just learn and understand how to use the interfaces. And that's actually how I really understood the B2B enterprise software environment, all the stakes involved into adoption, into how you actually get your tools used, and the diversity of it, what were the usages from a team from another. And this actually led me to, in the end, create Outmind as well.
That's amazing. So how did you meet the person who was going to start Lemon Learning? Were they at university with you, or?
No, actually, he was just looking for somebody, and I found it through I think it was like a community page on Facebook. So this was kind of, I don't know, like we just talked into a cafe, and the 2 days after that, I just started with him. So
Wow.
we were just the two of us, and eventually it happened that it worked. This is a self-finance company, and this is still existing as well. It was started in 2014. So it was quite a big experience, and we pivoted a little bit, understood that we won't do, for example, blended learning with trainings and face-to-face trainings with professionals plus the online part, etc. So we just focused on the guides, and this actually worked for big companies, for early kids, Saint-Gobain, and so on. And yeah, we just started to build over this.
And how did you make the decision so quickly when I guess you're just starting to kind of do your secondary studies after school, right? And then you're already going to be kind of pretty full on doing that, and then to decide to also kind of, I guess, co-found a company 2 days after you meet the person. What was your decision-making process?
Actually, when I just started with him, I was just thinking about, I do like this project. I think we could do something with it. It's okay just doing both of it. I mean, my studies on this because um, I was saying that it was not clear for me where I was going with these studies. I actually wanted to just do stuff and create things and see where this could lead me. And I decided to do this kind of studies just precisely because I didn't know at the stage where I chosen them where I wanted to go. So quite early on, starting this. Um, I knew I wanted to try on things. That's why I started to do some internships before it was mandatory, for example. And these little experiences in hiring, in sales, helped me to just bring a few, I mean, competencies to the project. For example, my first big mission was to hire a CTO. So I did this in maybe the 2 first months, and then we started to work on the marketing, etc. So yeah, I don't know, it just, at the beginning there is not this big stake of will you fail or will you succeed. Actually, you just learn. If you fail, it's not something big you have involved into it. I mean, since you didn't took a big loan or I don't know what, but um, being quite young also help you to just say, if it fails,
Yeah,
what's the matter? I mean, you're still studying. Yeah, you
it's
have,
like another project, I guess. You just treat it like a project.
yeah, kind of, yeah.
That's amazing. And so, like, had you always identified as like a future founder? Did you always think like I'm going to start a company one day, and that's almost why it accelerated your decision to start so early?
It's not something that I've been thinking that much about. I think I just wanted to launch this project specifically. I was quite seeing the potential behind it, and yeah, I never had this thing that strongly in mind, saying I have to be an entrepreneur. That's not true. I mean, for example, just after this experience with lemon learning, 3 years after that, I joined Hyperlex as an head of operations, and I was an employee. And I mean, the mission and the ambition of the project was more important for me than
Mm.
just saying I'm actually leading it. That's not the point. The point is to love what you do and to know that you have some impact into this. In the end, I discovered that I really wanted to create Outmind, so I just uh, quite quit to do this. But yeah, I think I didn't have that clearly in mind that I wanted to actually build my company.
So before we move on, what would if there are people watching this who are in university, I guess, right now or about
Yeah.
to go, would you like how would you recommend they if they want to start something, how would you recommend that they do that? Do you think you said there like find something you're passionate about and kind of make sure that you work in that space so you really believe in it? Do you have any kind of recommendations for how they might go about kind of starting something while at university?
Yeah. Um, I see some of them already, and I had the chance to speak to a few students from the university I was at, for example, that are sometimes asking for some advice and stuff. But of course, it depends on every situation. But I think the most important thing is just to uh, dig and start to talk with the end users, so the end customers. If you think you could bring something to them, just go to talk to them and start to dig and just go off maybe the barriers you could put to yourself. You will discover quite soon, I think, if your studies permit to spend enough time to do so. Um, on my side, I decided to actually not going, full time over the studies. I was saying I put my studies online, so I had the chance to work on it, but I mean not full time, and I could organize my time around this. So if you have the chance to do this, depending on the kind of studies you are pursuing, it's something that could really help. But um, after doing the uh, at university, I think it's something it's possible, depending on your studies again. Um, during the business school after that, I was saying that the time you could get outside of it and the energy you can put into it, sometimes it's difficult to just combine it. So you just have to deal with that and see if it is a situation you are okay with, basically. I mean, I wasn't going that much at parties at university, but in the meanwhile, I was building something. So you just have to choose what you want to do at the stage.
Yeah, and that's, as you say, that's why you have to really love it, right? Because you're going to be spending a lot of time doing it, and it's difficult, so you've got to love it.
Absolutely.
So, and then you sort of casually did a master's while you were, I think, the COO at Lemon Learning, right? So you then, I guess, went into even more advanced study. But then after that, I think you mentioned, obviously, just a few minutes ago that you jumped into being head of operations at Hyperlex.
Yes.
So what was the reasoning for your kind of jump back into being an employee?
Yeah. After the fact that our CTO at Lemon Learning left us, I decided to also leave. There were a few different opinions and stuff, and I saw it wasn't the way I wanted it to go. I actually was contacted by Hyperlex. So it's a legal tech using AI to understand contracts. And it was a very interesting opportunity. They just had been at this time raising their seed fundraising. And I was the first non-tech employee there. So there were a lot to do, and actually bringing on the first customers, building all the operations. And I also discovered at this time a technology I didn't knew that much about, meaning deep learning and understanding natural language processing aspects and technologies. So discovering this helped me also to understand at what stage was as we say, how we state this actually in English, the state of the art in AI on these topics. So I was really interested into this project. And yeah, I think it also helped me a lot to frame the project that I am into now at Outmind.
And then obviously before Outmind, you joined, is it Le Wagon, the coding bootcamp?
Yes.
Was that still while you were at Hyperlex? Was it kind of what you learned at Hyperlex that made you think, I need to dig into this and actually really have some credibility when I'm speaking to developers, therefore I want to go and do this bootcamp?
Yes, absolutely. Actually, there was a developer at Hyperlex that also did the Le Wagon after his engineering studies at quite a good engineering school. And I discovered the coding bootcamp this way. Yeah, I was more and more passionate about the technology itself and what we could build with it. And I was actually coding already a little bit, but easy stuff, with creating new criteria when the AI wasn't good enough. So I have some business rules I could implement and stuff. But it was still quite superficial. In my opinion, and the idea to do this bootcamp was really to go into things, to understand the logic behind. I was able to go through the backend logic and the front-end ones, and yeah, it's really something that interests me a lot. I knew I didn't want it to become a developer because I was still too much interested into how do you build a product and sell it. And it's quite hard to do both and do both well. But yeah, I think that this was something I would really wanted to do for a while, and I actually decided just before starting Outmind to do this bootcamp. And the day I left, I just took 1 week in Mexico, and then I started Outmind, and it was it.
So that's something I'm interested in, because I'm kind of non-technical, as they say, but I'm really interested in the technical side, and I used to work at Accenture, and we managed projects where there were programmers, developers that were kind of being pseudo managed in a way by me and the team. and I've kind of tried to dabble in the technical side myself as well, but I've really struggled to kind of context shift, you know, go from having a totally focused or a total focus on the non-technical side, the business, the operations, and so on, and then go into something that requires so much kind of dedication, I guess, to really get into the depths in the time available. So how did you find that process? Was there anything that you struggled with in particular?
That's an interesting question. Obviously, during this bootcamp, I was almost 100% dedicated to it. What was, I think, very helpful there was that we had the full day. I mean, from 9 to 6, we were working, we were learning new things. The day after, you implement things you learned from the day before. I mean, you are into this and you don't do anything else. I really loved it. I saw the limitations I could have on some aspects. I was doing a lot of the front side. I actually loved it, quite of the back too. I was struggling with some of the logic sometimes. Some are better at some specific aspects, you know. We were doing a lot of peer learning. So since you have a little issue, you can ask to your buddy. Each day you have a different buddy and stuff. So this is quite well organized. And normally at the end of it, you know, if you want to, and even not at the end, in the first few days, sometimes, you know, if you want to make it your career or not. And what we see at the end of this kind of bootcamp, there is some others, obviously. We see that maybe 1/3 of the students go to coding and become a developer. They need to improve and experience a little bit more to actually get there, but it's possible. Then you have maybe 1/3 of product guys, and in the third staying there, you have entrepreneurs, people who go back to other more maybe business stuff. So yeah, it's quite, you really see if you want to dig in more or not. For me, it was really useful, and I just love this period. But yeah, I think if you're interested into this, you can have a lot of different learnings there.
Yeah, I think what you've done differently and better than me there is like actually cut time out, like segmented a chunk of time and just focused on it rather than kind of dipping in and out, because it sounds like you need to get past the initial hurdle of, oh my goodness me, I don't really know where to start with this, which is, I think, if you're only segmenting 1 or 2 hours apart each day to do that, you never quite get past that, because each day you get to that stage where you're like, wow, this is hard, and then you have to stop and go back to what you're normally doing. Whereas you're diving into a kind of predetermined boot camp period. How long is it? 3-6 months, or?
It was 3 months there. There are some others for 6 months. Yeah.
Okay. So would you
you're absolutely right. Yeah, I would recommend this, and I completely understand your point, because I am the kind of person that is doing too much multitasking. So just giving these 3 months doing only this was already a challenge for me.
Yeah, it's. I mean, there are more of these cohort-based learning things picking up, and online as well. So not even necessarily something that you have to physically go into. So yeah. I think there will be more and more people doing this, especially with the kind of increased awareness amongst non-technical people that at least being technically apt, having an understanding is going to be increasingly important. So yeah, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
And then, okay, so after Le Wagon, you know, obviously you said you went to Mexico very, very briefly, and then you started Outmind. So yeah, what was the catalyst for this idea? Because it's quite unique. I mean, to me, correct me if I'm wrong, it almost sounds like the way that Google was when it started, where it was like, I want to organize the world's information almost irrespective of what source it's coming from. It seems like a similar type of concept, but internally within firms. So it's like pulling information. It's almost like platform agnostic, and it's just pulling information into one place. Where did that idea come from?
Yeah, basically, the very first time I think I thought about this was a few years ago. speaking with customers at Lemon Learning and just seeing that every 6 months they could add a new SaaS tool, so a SaaS software as a service tool for the employees. And they were seeing, for example, you could have 1, 2, 3 different tools where a similar information could be. Depending on the teams, they will use another tool. Depending on the person, they will use it differently, etc. So having actually a single source of truth about what has been done internally was quite hard. And in the end, you just uh, ask questions to one people or a few people you could know, saying, do you know if somebody has been working on that? I need it today. It's urgent for a customer, and I don't really know if we have something about this. Otherwise, I should rebuild it completely. I was seeing this more and more because you have really this in French it's avènement. I'm searching the right word for this, but anyway, it just you have seen you see this new SaaS tools coming on and on, the CRM, the ERP, the collaborative tools, and each specific task could have a specific tool, and this is very good because some of them are really powerful. But in the end, you just have this scattered data and information, and sometimes you just lose it and don't know how to classify and actually use it again. So this is the how you could actually build over your knowledge and not reinventing the wheel every time. And since I saw this need, I also saw the technical possibilities behind. And I think last but not least, I was this was something I really wanted to build. I was saying that this kind of product this didn't really exist the way I was imagining it. And the market needed it. We had a few companies tackling the top of the market, so the very big companies, corporates, but other companies behind that were still with struggling with this kind of topics and not having a solution that could actually tackle this. So I decided to create it to have the best of the two worlds, having on one side a really powerful tool, because this is something possible and available for big companies, but it's only a matter of experts. And a lot of people don't really know about this. They don't know it can exist. It's kind of enterprise search product. This is the big category. The second thing is that I wanted to bring the ease of use of the tools we can have today. You talked about Notion. We see that more and more we want to bring user-friendly products, and we can't just go this way of selling licenses and not caring about the usage. Yeah, so this is the core idea behind it.
And you mentioned Arthur, is that your co-founder? Where did you meet him? Was that at Le Wagon, or was it somewhere else, like in a community outside of that?
Yeah, we actually I was organizing a hackathon, so a kind of a boot camp, gathering around 100 people to create new projects within the time of the weekend. And actually, Arthur was one of the participants, and we just spoke at the end of the event. I think it was the Sunday evening. And we spoke again later on. He was just finishing his entrepreneur and engineering studies. It was a mix of it. He actually liked the idea, and at that stage, I still was at the very beginning of it. I had maybe started to talk about this and take this topic for 1 month only. But I've been studying. I have already this very first thing in mind that was getting more and more clear. And yeah, we just started to work together some of the weekends, and then eventually full time when we joined the incubator of Polytechnique. And yeah, it was just a perfect combination, and I was very happy to meet him at this time. And today I'm really delighted to work with him every day. I think he was the perfect person to start this, and he actually understands both of the business and the technical aspects, and the dev team is growing quite fast with him, so I'm very glad of it.
I guess that's a really good learning as well for other people who, you know, looking to start a company, especially if you're kind of, again, on more on the non-technical side, is like organizing things that will attract the type of people that you want to meet. Like you're organizing a hackathon there for 100 people.
Yeah, you know, it was not the goal of it.
Okay, but I guess it's a good learning from it, right? You know,
yeah.
almost retrospectively, if someone is wanting to meet, because often that's something that people struggle with, right? Is like, where do I meet a technical co-founder?
True.
It's very difficult to know how to, you know, break into communities where people like that might be if you just don't know that world. So I guess in some way, creating a bridge is a good approach. That's almost me just learning in my head while you're going.
No, but the thing that is true here is that developers and technical co-founders are quite demanded, and you just I think it's something quite common. I see around me, like people having a first idea but looking for a technical co-founder, and yeah, it's not something easy. And in this event, I didn't even thought about building it to find my co-founder. I actually thought I would find him during Le Wagon, just after, you know. So it happened, I found it before. But I think also that the fact that I already had digged a little bit around the project and understood the need and stuff really helped, because you can just come with an idea. And I actually come with something like just a little bit more than an idea. I had maybe some wireframes and stuff, but yeah, just giving more assurance about what we are going to build, I think helps a lot to convince the right person.
And when you started to kind of build the prototype, you know, with Arthur, were you able to, how involved were you able to be in the actual build of that? You mentioned that you'd obviously put some wireframes together. What was your kind of role, I guess, in those very early days of Outmind?
I was doing both the market research, meaning trying to meet a lot of people that could have either a good view of the market or could be potential users or customers. So this was my key role. We built the first prototype with Arthur within a few months. Actually, I'm quite a big fan of the fake it until you make it approach. I try to validate the ideas, then the visuals coming with it as soon as possible. Regarding Outmind, building an MVP was quite difficult because we need to show that the product really worked with some of the first integrations and show quick value. And this despite the big complexity behind. So yeah, we took a few months to build this. And I was trying all the time to just show a few of the screens of the new features, etc., in advance to our prospects to be sure that we were going to the right direction. This is not an easy path because some of them would just say, I need something very specific. You need to, you know, just put everything sometimes on the spreadsheet. That's what we did in the end, with all the features, demands, the connectors, etc., and to have this view and say, okay, we have maybe 10 of them that want this connector, that want this feature, so let's build it, and then we'll announce them this. There's a lot of different ways to go. Some of other would maybe just do something like a beta and I don't know, countdown to get the first users. And so there is a lot of different approaches, but I think in the end, the key element is just to speak with the potential user and to understand what you want to build and what are his actual needs. So getting to to actually bringing value and not being something that is just easing a little bit, which would maybe be considered as nice to have. So this is a big challenge for companies, I think, like us, that are working in this productivity space. So yes, that's something we're still working on every day.
So kind of just digging into that, I guess, early customer development phase where you're trying to just like really quickly learn what people need and which elements of that you should focus on trying to provide. How did you find these people? So like, what were you doing to segment the world to understand what is your ideal potential customer and getting in contact with them and actually trying to find out those needs? Like, how did you go about that approach, or how did you go about that?
I think first I went to my network, used a lot LinkedIn, and quite fast we discovered that one important segment we could focus on was the consulting area and sector. Because in this area you have a lot of turnover, you have a lot of documentation created for each customer. You know it, I think, being at Accenture before, and we're speaking with Accenture actually. We saw a lack of capitalization around knowledge, and this was actually an issue for them because creating information that would not be reused the next day is just destructing value as you are building and giving an expertise to your customers. So the human value, the time value is very high, and losing it, redoing presentations, proposals, showing your expertise on some specific fields is something that we need to make more relevant, quicker, to just be able to have the right solution to a customer answer. So we started with that. Actually, our very first customers are within this area, and we are still developing this segment. So most of our customers right now are consulting companies, and we are progressively going wider and getting services companies more widely, VC funds. We get, for example, banking and an insurance company as well. So yeah, it starts to really go beyond consulting, but we started with that. And since we understood the need, we decided to dig in and to really go into the processes, the sales processes, the onboarding processes for the consultant, etc., to really bring a solution that answers a need, and which is quite specific to begin with. Because if we try to tackle a too wide problem, the risk is that you don't really give a solution to any of the sub problems you can see.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I think you can spread yourself too thin, right? So, and then when you were engaging with these first prospects, how were you kind of prioritizing what you built? Like, were you simply just gathering it and prioritizing based on how many people said they had a certain requirement? So you're mapping requirements between companies, yes, and then doing that.
Yeah, actually, we exactly did that. We mapped these requirements and wheels and stuff. So we had this connectors part, because the one key element of our product is that we need to be integrated to the used tool within the company. So this is a huge part. And then the features part. So the way you could, for example, tag elements to find them easier, and next to understand who have been worked on what, so the people feature, etc. So we had a lot of different items in this huge spreadsheet. We had maybe 100 of companies and 100 of needs for each of them. So yeah, we tried to build this huge matrix and to say, okay, you have this different sizes of companies. Consulting companies were maybe representing half of it. So we put them aside so that we understand maybe in this area if there is some things that were coming again and again, because we needed to focus on something. And yeah, then we just try to leverage and to give some weight, maybe for companies that were able to go with us quicker than others, etc. So yeah, we try to ponderate with different criteria like that.
And when you were building in response to the information that you were getting out of them, how quick were your iterations? How quickly did you go back to them and show them what you'd done, and then go back again and rebuild after that?
I would say never as quick as we wanted to. Actually, we tried to do this as soon as we had maybe some visuals, or then if we developed it, we were saying to the customer, here we are, this is the feature you've been asking for. Now it's available within the product. And we did a lot of interviews as well with all of our first customers, and we are still doing it. So a few weeks after the onboarding, we tried to have this little session with a few users to understand how they understood the product, if they used it, if they had some, I don't know, questions or issues, they could just ask us. So that's something we still do a lot. And it helps us just to understand from 1 month to another if we need to add some features to make some improvements. And since we had our very first users, the roadmap changed completely. You have this big roadmap in head with maybe a 24 months roadmap with the big milestones and stuff. And then you just talk to the users, and they will say, oh, but we have this filter we would like to have. Or I don't know, one specific part on Office 365 should work this way. And in fact, actually, you just end to do what they want. And it's the best way, I think, to build a roadmap. And the big rocks of this roadmap should be also things that they ask or that prospects ask to accelerate your sales. So in my opinion, the two main things to have in mind when building this roadmap is to see, and we are building it with our product manager now as well, is to see if it enters within an effort zone that you decided to go into. And these effort zones should correspond to our two core objectives, which are either retention or acquisition. So some of the features will help us to acquire new customers because they need some features to just onboard on the product. And for some other customers, you need to build new features just to make them stay and use the product more and more. So yeah, we are focusing on these two parts. If we see there is no enough, how to say, impact on either of these 2 points, we don't go for it.
That's a really good framework, actually, really helpful framework. So it's like being very customer driven, but also connecting the customer desires to future customer desires and thinking, will this help pull us forward as a business as well into the future?
Absolutely.
So, okay. And the other question I was going to ask was, how did you convince people to spend time helping this new concept evolve? What did you, because that is sales in itself, even though you're not making any money, they have to commit time to tell this person who may end up building a business that actually is not relevant to them. So they're committing time. How did you do that?
Yeah, I think people are quite helpful when you just tell them about your issues and what you try to understand, what you try to build. And in the end, the idea is to be able to bring them this product, to build a product that they are dreaming of, to bring it to them. Sorry about that. So yeah, I think it's maybe easier than one would think. When you ask for advice, many people are here to help and willing to help. Actually, the very first ones that really gave us very good feedback are just our users. It was paying users, and I mean they were keen to just spend more time to improve the product with us for them. So in the end, it's a beneficial cycle for everyone.
So you mentioned paying users there. At what point did you move from, I guess, what you would call an MVP phase to actually starting to charge people? And how did you decide what your pricing model was going to be?
Yeah, we started to actually sell the product quite early on, a few months after starting it. Um, the, the the key there was to really see if we were able to create value. If you are able to create value, there is no reason you shouldn't charge your product. So that's what we did, and we tried to see different aspects to build the first pricing. First, obviously, the value you create, how much time we could save, and how much money this time saved could represent. So this could be maybe 10 times higher of our actual pricing. And the second aspect we took into account is the price of some of the competitors, of other maybe productivity software around knowledge management and storage, etc. So we ended building the first pricing, which is starting at 15 euros per month per user, and then which is decreasing with the volumes. We also have this per-use approach since you are going above a certain number of users. So we try to challenge this pricing with our customers, and that worked. And actually, we are still working around these numbers now. And yeah, I think you have to see if the willingness to pay. You have to see the market and the competitors, and then it's the value you create if you are able to just charge a few percentage of what you are actually uh, maybe just giving to the user, because he will save 1 hour, 2 hour, 4 hours a week. What we see now is that actually we can save up to 4 hours a week for people working in services projects. For example, if you have to rebuild completely a proposal for a customer, when you still have it, you will lose a huge time you could spend on most valuable tasks, on more valuable tasks. And that's something really important here that we see, is that on these uh, areas, when you have knowledge workers, not giving them such a tool is something where you lose every day, every week, a lot of time, and you don't really see it. So we try to just ask all the questions to understand what are the processes within the company, and really see where we can just add a lot of value, and then it's just normal to charge depending on that.
Uh, and yeah, I guess that's a. I mean, so my question I think I'm going to ask is the when you started charging people, how did that change the way that you were building the product? Like, did you then focus much more on the people who were paying you and what their requirements were, or did you think, you know, new types of customers who are not yet paying, we also want to still focus on them?
The commitment of the users within paying customers is higher most of the time. Obviously, you can have some people that will really love the product even if they are free users, etc., and they will give you a lot of valuable feedback. But since we started to make it paying, we saw entire companies gathering for meetings, giving us feedbacks and stuff, and you can't do that otherwise. You have this level of commitment, which is quite different, and it didn't really change the way we were organizing the roadmap. It really changed, as I said, when we had our very first users, paid or not. So yeah, I think that's the answer.
And so with the with the go-to-market strategy in the early days when you're starting to sell it, were you focusing only on the people that you had been testing it out with, or were you starting to reach out to new people who hadn't been involved in that early kind of validation of the product?
You mean within the company or outside of it?
Yeah. So how early? Basically, I think how early did you start reaching out to brand new people with the paid product as the first thing that you were approaching them with?
We never stopped just reaching out new people. So I think there was yeah, I don't think we switched the way of doing things. We just understood better what were the needs of these people that were able to pay for it. So it helped us to better narrow the way we were getting to new people. But yeah, it just helped us to build our how to say, the presentation of it, the understanding of the problems we actually tackle, because we are seeing what we are doing for a few customers, and obviously it helps a lot when you start to sell to others. Just building on existing customers and experiences and use cases. So yeah.
Yeah, and you're also learning a lot when you're pitching your product to new people. Even if they don't buy it, you're still learning by the questions that they ask you. Oh wow, like actually this is coming up a lot, so we need to kind of start prioritizing that build. So
completely. We try to, as I said, to bring the user's voice within our roadmap definition, but also the prospect one. So my sales manager and myself are doing a lot of feedbacks to the product team, saying, okay, we have all these people saying us, we would like to have this feature. Do you think it's something we should consider? Or yeah, we try to at least integrate their feedbacks that can maybe just be simple feedbacks within the first sales meeting, but could really make them go to the purchasing. So yeah, we try to take this into account a lot.
And what is the kind of sales cycle and implementation of a tool like yours? Is it you mentioned, is it kind of, can there be an element of self-service, and then how do they integrate that into their internal systems after they've purchased?
Yeah. We have very small companies as customers, as larger ones for a few hundred of users. So we have a self-service way to go, where you can just add your credit card and start for maybe 10 users. So they will receive the right access, and they will be onboarded with a quick tutorial, and we will ask them afterwards if they want to participate to a feedback session. And otherwise, it would be a cycle maybe a bit longer with other people you need to meet, maybe the IT direction or other people within the process. And then it's more of a B2B, more classical sales. But in the end, we're able to deliver the product within a few hours. It's not something you need to implement, having maybe 10 people on the customer side, which was actually needed for many of our historical competitors. So here we are really making it way easier. You can just start with a team, with an entity, and yeah, just have the few person that will lead the project on their side, on our side. Sometimes it's just a few hours from one people on the customer side, so you don't really need to spend time over implementation, over adoption, etc. This is all matters, and we are helping our customers to actually make sure the product is adopted. We are giving them some KPIs at the end of the test period, if they have one, to say, for example, here are the key keywords that are searched for. So they have this kind of word cloud we are giving to them. Plus they have the usage metrics, so they really know if they want to go at scale or not after that. And for us, it's very important just to say, that the value is there if the usage is there. So we are really following this metrics, and we have this usage per day, per week, per month that we are following every day. And this is one of our core metrics as well to monitor, because we want it to be really helpful in the everyday life of our users.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than selling to someone and then not seeing that early uptake of the product, because you know that obviously the less they use it in the early days, the less promising the continued use of it is looking. Whereas if you get the time to value being very, very quick, then obviously it's going to almost start to sort of improve almost exponentially from there.
Yeah.
So that's great. And then one thing we haven't touched on is, as you're going through this process, that hiring. So you said you have 12 employees at the moment. Obviously, you've just raised a round back in December, which we'll come on to in a second. But what did you just started by building out the dev and product team to begin with, was it?
Yes, absolutely. We had eventually one intern helping with sales, but the core team was the tech team, yeah.
And then when did you hire your first kind of non-product, non-tech employee?
It was last September.
Last September. So what was that, about a year and a half after you started?
Yeah, 1 year and so, yeah. We actually operated in August 2019.
Okay, and this first non-technical, I guess, hire outside of yourself was, I guess it's almost like a catch-all role. Is it sort of like start helping with everything that's not technical, so kind of operations, potentially future hiring, administration, sales?
No, actually, he was the sales guy, and I also hired an intern to help me as a you say right hand, and this person actually will stay with us, and it just took the operations, and this is really great to see that the team is growing, and just we are not changing heads of and people want to stay and want to build with us.
Do you have any specific tips on hiring? So like how to make sure, because obviously, something that I think Netflix founder talks about is like talent density. So just making sure that you have absolutely world-class people in every position as early as you possibly can, because obviously every new person you hire in the future will probably be hiring people as well. So if you hire a bad person or someone who's not a great fit, then they might also hire someone who's not a great fit, and it gets worse. So do you have any specific kind of tips on early stage hiring?
Yeah, I'm still into it, so it's still a huge challenge to just bringing in the best team, and that's something I love to take care about. I think it's one of the key elements for a company to be successful, and I'm already quite proud of the team we already managed to build. We have very talented people both on the tech and the business side, and I hope we will succeed to preserve and strengthen this culture, which is one of commitment, of continuous learning, knowledge sharing. We try to help each other on everything that we can, and still we try to keep everyone quite autonomous on his tasks. We try to preserve this culture. We try to seek into the person we interview if they have not only the YQ, so the intellectual quotient, but also the emotional one. So that's not easy to find out. I don't think I have some specific questions you could ask or things like that. We obviously have this interview framework, but we just try to see if there will be this fit since the very first interviews, and depending on the positions, for example, on the tech side, you have several interviews, testing, etc. On the business side, it's more basic, I would say, with a first interview about what the person wants to build, what we are doing, and if there is this very first fit, then we go to a business case. But it's very hard actually to recruit the very good ones, and there is some key elements a lot of people have been talking about, maybe into the A method for hiring, for example. There is a lot of things you could learn about that, but I still don't think there is a secret sauce. I like to really dig with each people with interview, what they really want to do and what passions them, if they would be able to really make the difference when being with us. But yeah, I'm still searching for the secret sauce actually.
I think everyone is.
Yeah.
Great, and then we'll. I'm aware, obviously, of the time, so we'll start finishing up now. But I know that you've just raised in December. I think it was mustard seed, maize, sharpstone, BPI, and some angels. How do you decide on the sort of allocation of these funds across different things? Obviously, don't go into things that you don't want to kind of go into, but it would be really interesting, I think, for people to understand how you decide what goes to what, basically.
Of course. The objective of this fundraising was twice. So the first objective was to be able to hire the key people we needed, both on the business and the tech side. For example, we just hired a senior developer on the back end that we really needed to build some of the next features we have into the roadmap. The salesperson is also something we couldn't do without this. Then the second part is just to be able to go to the market more and more and be able to get, as we often mention, the product market fit, meaning you have this short period of time where you are building, where you are talking to our customers and to prospect, just to get to the next milestone and be able to say, okay, here we have understood that we have some specific fields we should tackle, some specific problems, that our solution is actually one of the best ones to do that, and that we have very good differentiating factors to help to solve these problems. So you have to hire the right persons, and you have to make it work. I mean, there is an alchemy to create within the team and with your customers, and with the users as well, to just make them adopt the product, use it, give you feedback and stuff. So we are in this thing. Obviously, it was not that easy to raise, because we did this amid COVID. Actually, we started during the first lockdown and had all the validations within the summer. So we kept it within the time frame we had in mind. We did the announcement a bit later on, and yeah, I think we are quite happy now with the people that are on board and helping us every day. For example, we have Henry Wingen from Mustard Seed Maize, which is one of the board members and who is a partner of Mustard Seed Maize, who is very supportive. So actually having a first VC, even for a pre-seed round, is something we didn't really looked for. We wanted to get some BAs, and we finished to have BAs and the VC. But yeah, this is helping us also to maybe get to the best way after that, and to build the key metrics for the next round.
Amazing. And one question I've also got to ask is, like, how do you juggle all the time? Like, what is your time management strategy for kind of doing all the things that you need to do?
Yeah, that is still something I'm quite struggling with, because I still need to keep an eye on many things, and start delegating some of them. The thing is that we carry a lot of projects at the same time. We were getting new users, new customers every month, and almost every week. So I keep working on the customer side to make sure everything is going well. I help on the project side, hiring, on management, on marketing, and this is still a lot to do, and the more we go, the more I tend to delegate some of it. But yeah, I've been already going through this moment when you are up about 10 people and you are going to the next step, and you have on the core functions people that could really tackle the key missions. So this is not completely new to me, but every time you still need to kind of learn to delegate again for things you started to build alone. So yeah, I'm fully into that process, and I don't have this kind of maybe time management tips. Maybe besides just getting a clear calendar, because if things are not well placed within the daytime, you are at high risk not to do them. So just having a task list is not enough for me. I really need to pin everything on the calendar. I know when I will do what. This really helped me.
Yeah, I'm exactly the same. I'm pretty hyper structured with my calendar with time blocks, and I have different colors and everything.
Absolutely.
I read Deep Work by Cal Newport is a really good book that I found very helpful for that. So yeah, it's good to hear that you you do the same thing, validating what I do.
Yeah, I try also to keep some focus time, but to tell you the truth, most of the time it just disappears when you hit the end of the week. So I try to really stick to that, but very, very hard to keep.
Nice. Well, I was just thinking there, I heard, I read or I heard something, I think a year or so ago, which was, I think, a VC saying the next 10 years is not going to be about what you know, it's going to be about how fast you can access what other people know. And I feel like you guys are very well set up to be kind of serving that that problem area. So really exciting future for you guys. Absolutely delighted that Startup Grind in some way can help you. And, it's been fascinating kind of going through your journey and understanding what you've been doing over the last 6-7 years to get to where you are. So thanks so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Alex. And I must say that Startup Grind helped us a lot. As you know, a few months earlier when we were doing this first fundraising, because we got a lot of intros and with VCs mainly, and we were not looking at this time to raise with VCs, but I'm pretty sure that these connections could be quite useful in the next periods and times to go. So thank you a lot for all of it.
Amazing. Our pleasure, of course.
Thank you, Alex.
Thanks so much, Grace. Bye.
Bye-bye.